Welcome to Kingsman Software's Beyond the Build podcast. At Kingsman, we pride ourselves on building enterprise quality software, and we have the privilege of meeting some pretty interesting people along the way. Come join us to meet the visionaries, the disruptors, the entrepreneurs, and the innovators that envision new technology solutions and then bring them to life. Come join and hear us what happens beyond the build. This is Kevin Carney, one of the managing partners here at Kingsman Software, and I'll be hosting today's podcast from the Bourbon Studio at Kingsman's office in Camp North End. Our sound engineer today is the one and only Bill Clarisi, our intrepid CEO here at Kingsman Software, and also self-proclaimed AV nerd. Say hello, Bill.
Hello, Bill.
Is the soundboard recording this time? Great. Okay. All right. Today from the podcast studio, we are talking with Teddy Fitzgibbons and Mike Kerr from StreetFair. StreetFair is pretty new to the Charlotte market and the startup scene, but coming on strong due to its straightforward and much needed offering. And you've already raised a surprising amount of capital. For those that don't know, this is a little bit of a homecoming for Mike, who was head of engineering at Kingsman Software a couple of years ago. Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you.
So it's good to have you back as an alum. And Teddy, cheers. Welcome to the studio. Yeah, first
Thanks
time.
for having me.
There you go.
Cheers.
Nice. So catch people up a little bit. Explain the basics of StreetFair. Throw down some stats. How big is the company? How big is your footprint? How fast you're growing? Things like that. Give us the basics of what you guys do and
All right.
This is why.
how do you measure? Okay, go for it.
I was gonna let the returning.
Well, that's the techno questions to Mike.
Yeah, exactly. So StreetFair is a website for neighborhoods to find and coordinate common home maintenance services like gutter cleaning, lawn aeration, window cleaning, and things like that. I guess the origin story is probably pretty unusual for the average tech startup. And we actually, Mike and I worked together previously at a company called Passport in Town. And it was during the pandemic, he and I almost bought a pool cleaning business.
Oh.
Zero tech thesis. Yeah, I guess
that goes back to Mike's swimming background.
I was going to clean the pool.
Yeah. It was really a
Boys.
Speedo marketing company, and we just thought that'd be a good distribution angle. We almost bought a pool cleaning business with like a ludicrously simple thesis in retrospect, which was we just heard that when all the HOA pools closed and the country club pools closed and everything like that, like there was huge demand to get a pool built. And we heard there was like a 3-year wait list to get a pool built. And so we very simply were like, oh, wow, that's a lot more pools that are going to have to get cleaned. We should buy a pool cleaning business. Very little thought went into that part, and certainly no tech thesis. But as we started, we actually diligenced a few. We started digging in, and the main insight we had is if you own a pool cleaning business, you want what's called route density. You want 10 pools on the same street or 10 customers on the same street. And obviously that's true way beyond pool cleaning, but just about all of these home maintenance businesses, you want customers clustered closely together to make your crew route overall business as efficient as possible. And then it was just like hitting a wall of, wow, there's absolutely nothing out there that helps home maintenance businesses, encourage neighbors to do these common services together or to coordinate their service visits. Like it's pure chance if you can clean 2 gutters, on the same street at the same time, even though everyone's leaves fall at the same time. So that was kind of our first insight, was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And I can't believe knocking on doors is the industry standard. And as we kind of thought about it more, we started looking at our experience as homeowners in Charlotte and being like, wow, we were working from home. It was the pandemic, and we'd look out the window and we'd see there's 11 different lawn care companies that come to my 12 home street, in a given week. I wonder why that is, because it's so much more efficient for any of these businesses to service a couple lawns. And then we got into kind of the consumer side and realized that people really do want recommendations from their neighbors, next door, the neighborhood Facebook groups, things like that. That's how most people find home maintenance businesses. But there was nothing, there other than posting to a social network or running into a neighbor, walking the dog, that would actually help homeowners see which businesses their neighbors already used, much less when they're going to be coming to the neighborhood. And then we realized the same opportunity exists on the supply side, the service provider side, to help broadcast, hey, there's a tree trimmer that's going to be in the neighborhood. The tree trimmer wants 3 or 4 customers in that neighborhood to all coordinate together. And the homeowners want to use the tree trimmer that's been vetted and verified in the neighborhood as well. And so we realized it was really a two-sided opportunity. We stopped trying to buy a pool cleaning business, which was probably a good idea anyway. We went back to building software, which is where we both come from. And that's how we got to StreetFair. So we make it really easy for homeowners to join their neighborhood marketplace, and you can see which local service businesses have already done a bunch of work in your neighborhood. It's all organized by how many neighbors use each company. You can see reviews, within your neighborhood, and then you can see when businesses are scheduled to be in the neighborhood next. And as more homeowners, sign up for the same visit or coordinate the service together, the price goes down for every neighbor who signs up together because of all the efficiency that service business is able to get.
So it's like Angie's List meets Groupon.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I downloaded the app and my neighborhood's on there, and I went and looked, and not only is it convenient, but I saw that someone was doing power washing in my neighborhood, and I had been thinking about doing power washing for some time, but I'm like, I have to go find someone. It's a pain. But it's right there. He's going to be there on Friday. I'm like, yes, me too.
Yep.
And so just come down the street, a couple driveways down, and get my driveway as well. And so the service providers helped. I'm helped because I don't have to go find someone, and it was kind of on my honey-do list anyway.
Yep.
And we all get a discount, so great. Yeah.
We
It's win-win-win,
see that
right?
over and over.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's demand
it's-
generation in some regards, right?
It's no coincidence that one of the biggest, best performing services on StreetFair is like dryer vent cleaning, because we all know we should do our dryer vents,
That's
or
right.
clean our dryer vents, but none of us do it.
Right.
And then somebody signs up for StreetFair and they're like, oh, I should definitely get my dryer vents cleaned, and they're going to be out here on Friday, and there's a $25 discount if I do it. So just hit the button, add me
Right,
to that,
right.
and I'm done.
It's not a cost thing. It's just an effort of
a
finding the
convenience.
person. Exactly.
Yeah. And no one comes to StreetFair to get their dryer vents cleaned. Like, they go there because a tree just fell or they need to paint a room, and then while they're there, they're like, oh, shit, it's been 6 years since I had my dryer vents cleaned. Like, well, while they're here, you know.
Yep. Yeah, mailbox painted or
Gutters cleaned.
Some wood rot repaired, things like that. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna just sidecar a little bit into an icebreaker of the great house debate. So some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla. Let's see where you stand. There's no judgment here. It's just you need to stand on one side or the other. No wishy-washy.
I think there'll be some judgment.
I definitely do.
Well, there will be judging.
Yeah, there'll
Okay.
be judging.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
We
But
tend
don't
to-
give me-
We
don't
tend to
give me
stand on
the-
the opposite sides of arguments a lot. I'm curious to see where we stand.
All right, so let's start off with we're doing home services stuff here. So, mulch or pine needles? Are you team mulch? Or you team pine needle?
Mulch.
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 Oh, I'm mulch.
Pine needles are the worst.
I'm mulch
I
too.
totally agree.
Are we all?
We
from
used
the
to throw them
Northeast?
away up
You're
north.
from the
We would
Northeast?
throw that away.
Yeah.
When I got a new
Northeast?
house, I had to go and rake up all the pine needles
Right.
they put down so I can put down some mulch.
The real stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are you, Teddy? You're from the Northeast?
No.
No?
I'm from Kansas
Well, I do
City.
think it's a north versus south thing.
Yeah,
Like, I think if you
it
go down
is.
to Florida. There's
Yeah,
like
but it's
heavily
also
pine.
a place for snakes to live and a place where snakes don't live, right? Like,
Fair enough.
let's just call that like a spade. But besides, they can just light on fire. It's ridiculous. All right.
Hold on, I got an impromptu one.
What?
Are we black mulch, brown mulch, or red mulch?
No, it's just mulch. There's no
No,
colored. There's no
no.
colored mulch.
Disagree.
I disagree. So
Are
what's
you,
the,
are you going for the dyed mulch? Is that what you're going for?
It's
That
different
is the
type
most
of wood.
common, though.
Yeah.
yeah?
Dyed mulch?
Yeah.
I see. I'm a brown mulch guy.
Me
my
too.
wife,
I'm brown.
my
Me
wife likes black mulch.
Black mulch.
See,
Black
I got a
mulch?
black mulch
Yeah.
guy.
I like
From
the brown.
from black trees? Like
I'm
Dyed?
emphatically a not red mulch.
Yeah.
not red. Like, we
But I could go
we all
brown.
agree not red.
Unless you own a farm with a farmhouse,
Yeah.
maybe red works. But other than that, it doesn't.
Okay. All right. Gutter guard or au naturel? Like, does the gutter guard like prevent leaves from getting in, or is it more of a pain to clean when you have to?
Are you
clean
getting paid for this?
it? No.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to put gutter guard TM. Like something a gutter mesh, like something over the gutters, or just let it go.
I mean, gutter guard all day.
Yeah, I don't have gutter guards. I probably will get them installed. So I can't speak to the pro versus con, but
Oh, all right.
I wish I didn't have to have my gutters cleaned a couple times a year.
Yeah. Right.
I did my own.
You did your own.
Yes, but I'd rather pay somebody to do it.
Wait, you cleaned your gutters or you installed gutter guard?
I installed like a mesh
Yeah.
across a good portion of my front and back, and it's it's one of those things you do it yourself. But
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody else do it. But I'm gutter guard all the way.
So I've been 25 years without a mesh or gutter guard.
How often do you clean your gutters?
And we just got them in, not nearly enough because it's too tall. And we just got them installed. It is life altering.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
My quality of life is through the roof now. Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow.
Okay. Primary bedroom, first floor, or second floor? Teddy?
I'm kind of a one floor. We're one floor plus a basement, so.
Oh, that doesn't. Oh,
Yeah.
then
You have a basement?
Invalid.
Oh.
Yeah.
basement. Where do you live?
I live in Charlotte. Well, it's like on a.
He lives, like,
it's
right
on a
around the
I
corner
know
from
it's
you.
a slope. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on a slope, and so the basement, the basement has windows that kind of face the front, like half above the.
Should
Okay.
you have had a 2-story house? What's your preference?
Yeah. Oh, he's just main floor.
Yeah,
Right,
I think I'm main floor.
He can't even conceptualize the second floor.
Finally stumped him.
All right.
Just a ranch house guy.
Mike?
Master op.
Master up. Yeah.
Master down for me.
Master down.
Hey, in case
Why?
there's a fire, I want to be able to jump out real quick.
Yeah. You got people looking in your windows. It's creepy, man.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm looking at other people's windows. What's the difference?
Yeah. I don't want to go behind like the TV to go to bed. Like I need to go upstairs. There's a ceremony of turning the lights off and going upstairs. Now I'm upstairs. Now I'm sleeping. Right.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Master up.
Okay.
Man.
Bill's like, oh, let my kids burn upstairs. I'm fucking out of here.
He's out of there.
Can I
so
say
you
fuck on this
is it
podcast?
Catch him.
They have sheets. We can tie them up.
He's trained them to be resourceful.
Yeah, I bought.
Stop,
I
drop,
bought,
and roll downstairs.
Literally, there's a closet upstairs that has one of those safety ladder things in it, and
Oh, really?
yes, yeah.
And once a quarter, we run a drill.
That's right. That's right. Everybody put their hard hat on.
If I know you, Bill, there's like a fire pole outside the window.
I would install one if I could.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we're split. We're pretty evenly split on that
Yeah,
one, right? We were all mulch, but all right. Fireplace, gas fireplace, wood fireplace,
Wood.
wood.
All
Oh
day.
yeah, I like the smell, right?
I grew up with a wood fireplace. I loved it.
Yeah. Pain in the ass to clean though.
Yeah, I mean, I have a gas fireplace now, and it's just so much easier.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
I have a gas fireplace too, and we use it way more, but nothing beats starting a real wood fire.
Yeah.
If I could choose, I would have a gas fireplace in my living room and a wood fireplace in my porch.
You just said both. Just get out. Forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started off saying you can't say both,
Oh.
but I agree with you.
I have 2 master bedrooms, so I just have one upstairs and one downstairs. No.
I have a gas as well, and it's weird that you flip a switch to turn your fireplace on, but I mean it's convenient and you don't have to worry about cleaning it. But I love a real fire. I'd much rather have a real fire.
Yeah. As in hindsight, so we have a gas fireplace, and it was cool. The first time you switched that thing on, it was cool. But it smells, and there's no romantic aspect to it at all, right? And it's not a good heat source. So you might as well just not even have it. Like just like you're saying, just put one outside, make it wood burning, put it outside.
So our gas fireplace, however it was installed, it had it's like the decorative piece was surrounded in like glass shards. Which kind of looked cool when you turned it on, and then we had a kid, and it's just like right there in the
Those
living
look
room and
fun.
exposed. And I was like, okay, she's crawling around now. I guess I gotta take all these glass shards sort of by hand out, and it was like a 2-hour thing to find every glass shard and put it in a bag.
So they are hot
So does it
and
just
they're
look
shards.
ridiculous?
Well, it actually looks better than you would think it would. But it fortunately the underlying thing is just like black and kind of looks normal.
I gotta tell you, I'm impressed. I totally thought that you would be the one that looked over and she was eating one of those glass shards. And
It wasn't my idea to take the glass shards out. I was like, well, let's just teach her not to do that. But it was probably a good call.
It was only when she had one in her mouth that
Yeah,
he finally
yeah.
decided it was time. All right, so one last great house debate. Washing machine. Front load, top load.
do they still make top loads?
Yeah.
Is this a debate?
What do you mean they still make top loads?
Oh,
I have a
sounds
top
like
load.
sounds like
I
he's got an
agree.
old washer.
I love
No, I
top
just
loads.
bought one 2 years ago that was a top load.
Yeah,
Really?
top load.
Yeah.
Oh, well, clearly I'm a front load guy.
You can put
Front
stuff
load,
in
yeah.
after it's already started.
Really?
Yeah.
But I think they have ones coming out that do the washing and the drying in one machine now, don't they?
They suck.
What?
Do they?
Maybe the new ones, like the
I don't
first
know.
apartment I ever lived in New York, had one.
Yeah.
And maybe it was just a bad version or
Oh,
it was
really?
X years ago, but it was like at best, you could run a load of underwear and it would be 80% dry if like there was nothing else in it and there was like.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was useless.
That sucks.
So
No, that's
we
not
didn't use
good.
it. Yeah.
See the top load, right? You know, you can throw stuff in afterwards while it's already running, and you can put the comforter.
I
in
can't.
there.
It locks. You have to
You can
pause it.
You can't pause the front loader. You open it up, the water comes out.
How many loads of laundry did either of you two do this year? Come on, let's start the vote.
Mike, you know my OCD. I do all my laundry. My wife doesn't touch my laundry.
Yeah. I would say our laundry is there's at least 2 loads a night every night, 5 to 6 nights a week.
Are you kidding me?
No, it
Well,
may be
how many people live in your house? Like
5.
Yeah.
So,
jeez.
and there's
I mean,
football and there's horseback riding and gymnastics, and every night it is at least 2 loads.
Same here.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I wear the same pair of underwear the whole week. It's easy.
No, I know. We all know.
Kevin's like, that's why I stopped wearing underwear 6 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to Street Fair. Let's get back. Okay, so you guys both have Passport. But before that, Mike, I'm going to go into some little technology here. You were at B of A, right? You're also at Kingsman. You're also at B of A. So you went from building huge enterprise, bankofamerica.com type websites to, and take this the right way, a very, very small application, right? Right, because you
Barely works. There. No.
Hey, I gotta tell you, it's kind of nice to be worried about the 14 users I had versus the 14 million users I had.
But how do you do that? Because weren't you so like predispositioned and trained to make things that are scalable and make things that are, deployable and multi tiered and like how do you do that to making don't get me wrong, you've got a web app and a mobile app, and that's still complicated for just a small team to build, but.
I think that's probably one of the most interesting debates I have on a daily or weekly basis to this date. I mean, I'm constantly building for the street fair that I expect to have in 2 to 3 years while balancing not over engineering, over architecting the solution before finding product market fit. And at the same time, I've watched too many folks defer all scalability concerns, all security concerns until the very end and have a $5 million, initiative to go clean up your security concerns or something ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And so I think we've done a really good job so far, if I may say.
Yeah.
And really
working that afterwards.
And really working in the capacity to take care of certain things, right? So, I mean, we got off to an initial start. I hacked together God knows what on nights and weekends, but I knew that before really taking a product to market, I'd call an old friend, who you may know, and say, hey, let's get our infrastructure the right way. Let's get all of the stuff into the CDK. Let's get all this stuff cleaned up, because if this thing happens to take off, I really don't want to do this with 14 million users. I'd rather do it with 4 users. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a really, really good kind of art, if you will. And luckily, I mean, for as much shit as I give him, he's been really, really good at understanding the importance and the need to prioritize capacity. And so we're constantly kind of reviewing, hey, when do we need to mix in some time to go solve some scalability concerns or some security concerns, while at the same time, both of us are laser focused on like, none of this shit matters if we don't have users.
Yeah,
and growth.
That's right.
I rarely give Mike credit, but I'm gonna give, and it's a point of
we need a
pride for
soundboard,
me.
Bill. Somewhere in there we need a soundboard.
Yeah. Rarely do I let him out in public or give him credit, but I will briefly here. Mike is so fucking good at this part of the business. In 2 things. One, I was background data analytics, then kind of venture finance, and then product. So non-technical background. Like, I didn't know shit about data models, and our data model is so fucking good at Street Fair. Like, we haven't done any dramatic rewrite from 0 to almost 10,000 users in a pretty complex, like hyper local model in terms of how our product works and how the data hits the UI. And from the beginning, Mike was like, no, I'm really going deep on the data model. I'm like, who cares? We don't have any data. Like, there's no users, like whatever. But he really got it right. And it's scaled perfectly. And then the second thing, and I think we've it's probably one of the areas we partner best on.
Hey, quick Kingsman software plug.
Yeah, you can get nerdy on the data model.
Well, no, I learned the importance of the data model from Micah, Kevin, and Bill. I mean, we obsessed over the data model.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You get the domain
literally,
right.
It pays off.
Before
It's
I even
nuts.
wrote a line of code, I just sent Teddy a Visio diagram. I'm like, hey, by the way, how does this look to you? And he's like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
The hip
But it
bone
looks really
connected to the
cool.
leg bone.
So every Street Fair employee, all 9 of them, do like part of onboarding. In your first week, you do a data model review with Mike, and it's actually as much teaching them how the business works. Like it is nothing to do with like, so you know how the data tables are structured. It's more like, this is the pillar on which we built like the business. It is that foundational. And so I think that has really helped us move quickly through really hard problems. And then the second that Mike hit on, but that I think he and I partner pretty well on, is, ruthlessly focused on deferring something and like create the problem first, then solve it. You can be like, well, when we have 100,000 users across 2 different markets, this isn't going to work. And it's like, perfect.
Yeah, it's a good
Let's
problem
get
to have.
100,000 users across 2 different markets and we'll fix it.
I want that problem.
Yeah. And so we've been really good at saying like, is this a problem today? Perfect. Like we aren't blindly going down a path that's irreversible. And I think a lot of that comes down to confidence in the data model, but then just being really good at just not worrying about certain problems or like letting some fires burn. Be like, yeah, I agree that's a problem, but like for the 3 users that have clicked on it ever, we'll let them have a weird experience and we'll focus on the core. And like when we see 500 users click on it, we'll fix it.
Yeah. So you run product, Teddy, is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. So has there been? So you're telling Mike what to do, which is probably a good thing to keep him in line. But is
Can
there?
we edit that part out?
So
I'll edit.
Has there ever been this? This is a little bit of like a tell us what you're worst at kind of thing. Has there ever been a situation where you guys went down a path thinking this is exactly what the customer wants, whether that's your homeowners or whether it's your service providers, and they say this is exactly what they want, and then you rolled it out and it turned out that's not what they want, and you had to
All
retrace.
the time.
All
like all, but I think that's part of building.
Yeah,
you're
sure.
like the CEO, founder of the first company I ever worked for. I met with him when we were really early on, and he is an angel investor in Street Fair. His name's Dave Morgan, and he was like, yeah, the first year or so of a company, you're really just like tripping over yourself in the dark, like no idea where you're going. And like, obviously you've got a vision, but it's very much like that. And I think that's where speed matters, because if,
Cycle time.
Yes, cycle time. We're not making 12-month bets on like, I think this is what the user wants. Let's spend a year building it. We're like, I think this is what the user wants. How can we figure that out this sprint?
How can we validate the hypothesis?
Yeah, and like we're wrong all the fucking time. like add a 0 to the amount of times we're wrong versus right. Like it's not even close. But as long as it's an inexpensive mistake, and so we'll do stuff like when I talk about let's create the problem. Like we've ended a lot of debates in like, well, let's build the button and capture button clicks, and the button doesn't do anything.
Oh, sure.
It's not hooked up to the back end. Like literally nothing happens.
You
But
should put money down on this. Like,
Oh
you should
no,
wager
we do.
like-
We have
oh, you
a
do.
wall in the office.
Yeah.
It's called a disagree and bet wall. And when we're debating around, like, no one's gonna click on that fucking button, we're
We'll
saying,
be like,
all right, cool. What's
$10
the over
says,
under?
yeah.
I get $1 a click.
Yes, but it's like, but we'll do stuff like that, and it's like, cool. If 10 people click it, like we'll make the button do something, and if needed, apologize to those 10 users. But like we're very comfortable doing stuff like that, and so it makes the cost of being wrong, which we very frequently are, very low.
Fail fast and fail early.
It's
right?
actually
Right.
also one of the things that we ingrained in our culture early, right? I think we both read a book. It's called The Lean Startup. I'm sure, hopefully,
yep, that's the
you guys
Bible.
It's so
It
good.
is.
We actually make everybody read it the second that they start a Street Fair. We're like, hey, here's the domain model,
Well,
and here's the Lean Startup.
Yeah, which is first?
I try to get people the copy of the book before they start. I'm like, hey, you're in a transition. Go read this thing before you show up. But I'm sure it's a mixed bag as to who does it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, we save so much time. Just like, hey, just get the first thing out and prove that they do it. And like a lot of times, we'll just set a number. When we get 10 people to do this thing, I'll go build what's behind that button. Until then, don't talk to me.
So what does the button do when you click on it? Is it like
well, we always
Nelson?
make it like a
Nelson from The Simpsons going ha?
We make it the most
Gotcha.
minimally acceptable
Yeah,
experience.
totally.
To the
Okay,
user.
I gotcha.
Like, there's
I gotcha.
literally
I
no
gotcha.
button that doesn't do anything.
know.
But like, all right, well, hey,
That would be awesome. Though.
we give them a thumbs up.
Including even before you touch a line of code, like
Psych.
almost everything the product does, we did first. And it was like a good example is probably reviews. We built like a link that would let someone leave a review after they had a service. And we didn't like wire it up to be automatically triggered upon service completion or anything like that. It was like, well, we don't know if the provider's asking them to leave a Google review. We don't know if people will figure out how to log back into StreetFair because you got to be authenticated to leave a review. And so we're like, all right, I'm going to email or text the next 20 people to have a service completed. And let's see if any of them click the link and leave a review. And Mike was like, hey, when 10 people leave a review, I'll make it automatic.
Okay.
Or like invoicing. We did that super manually. And it was like, our threshold was like, when it takes more than 4 hours a week, we'll automate it. And then, we create a new version, the business 10Xs, and then it's like, all right, hey, that new version's now 4 hours a week. Great. Time to do another sprint on like invoice automation. And so I think we've been able to be pretty iterative, which also helps building a consumer product. I think a huge acknowledgement is if you're building like enterprise software B2B, you don't have the luxury of like a button that doesn't do anything when you're like selling something to a bank or whatever.
Would BFA allow you to have a button that doesn't quite do anything?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm sure they have plenty of buttons.
I'm pretty sure all their buttons don't do anything.
But a huge advantage, like we're building, a consumer product so we can do some of those things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Mike, have we had a lot of clients that just, I know exactly what the customer wants. I just know it. I'm going to build for a year, and then I'm going to deploy it. As it turns out, yeah, you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
And most of you never took the time to build in the tracking mechanism to understand what 10% of the product
Sure.
they're actually using in the first place. So we're all just guessing.
Yeah. I've built products for myself, like products that I would use, and I was a product owner and I was the user, and then I got exactly what I asked for. I started using it and it just wasn't what I needed.
Yeah.
Like I can't predict what I want. I don't know how I can predict what someone else wants, but okay.
And just last thing on this point, because I think it's so unbelievably important to someone setting out to build something, is like even in the design, like just with a Figma design, like Mike and I will review a design and we'll both nod our head, be like, yeah, I think this gets it done. And then we'll, the contract designer we have will be like, don't worry about the copy. I'll come in and do a pass on copy before we, build it. And then inevitably I go sit down and do the copy and I'm like, I don't think this feature makes sense anymore. And like 48 hours earlier, I'm like, this is perfect. Like we send this to the engineering team, because I'll sit down and I'll like actually sit there and I'll start to write, okay, this button should say this. Because when you click, I'm like, well, that's not how the design works today. And so even just like forcing yourself to live it once,
right.
Is like, I just don't know any other way than like you got to kind of take one little step and then you're like, well, the next step shouldn't be there. So
I get it. Yeah, and I downloaded the app and I've been using it a little bit. I haven't scheduled my first session yet, but
Teddy will give you $25 off your first service if you book today.
oh, great!
yeah,
Wow,
let's go.
I'm in.
Yeah, what
Maybe
can I
on
do to get
camera,
you into
on-
that power washing today?
Wait, is the power washing done with drones?
Oh, it's not. Oh, we have to bring in Lucid drones, don't we? They just announced their new
which is
cement
a
cleaning.
business on StreetFair.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I
You
know
know
we
Andrew,
did
That's
right?
crushing. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when Andrew came in, he was talking about you.
Yeah,
he
Andrew
was.
Asher. Andrew Asher.
Yeah. Andrew and his wife launched their neighborhood on StreetFair. They were a neighborhood ambassador.
That's awesome.
AC, yeah, they're awesome. And he listed his Rover cleaning is their like services arm that they're using to kind of iterate on this product and really prove it out. And they've been crushing it on StreetFair.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I get it.
Yeah,
They were showing us robots that
Yeah,
were
they're
going to do your
preview.
driveway.
They're
Your driveway. And we're like,
preview.
I'm in.
I wanna
Come
try
do
that.
my driveway.
Yeah.
They cleaned my driveway. It was
It's like a
awesome.
Roomba for power washing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
I shared the upcoming group deal with my neighbors, and my neighbor across the street joined in. We got two good-looking driveways.
Oh,
Wow.
I just saw that on LinkedIn, and that robot looks pretty freaking awesome. It looks like next. Like,
I do it
a
myself
moon
every year,
rover.
so I would love to have somebody else do it.
We're launching in Denver soon, so you
Oh,
won't
really?
have to do that anymore.
Okay, good.
Denver, North
you
Carolina.
could be the.
Hey, what's the name of your neighborhood?
Maple Leaf.
All right, there you go.
You could
Noted.
be
Got it.
the ambassador.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, sure.
I always wanted to be an ambassador.
So you mentioned I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here. So you mentioned you came from Passport, but before that you were also at venture capital, right?
Yep.
Right, like Bain.
Yep.
Bain Venture Capital.
Yep.
So you've been in this for a long time. Like you've lived this on the other side of investing in companies. So how has that been brought to StreetFair to know how to raise capital, to know how to invest in technology, invest in customer experience, things like that? Like, bring that to the light.
It's certainly very, very different building versus investing, and grateful for every second I spent in venture capital. I was there for at Bain Capital Ventures for about 2 years. Learned a ton, and was grateful that I quickly was like, "Ooh, I want to be on the other side of the table." Intense environment, some of the smartest people I've ever worked with, but it's very different than building. It's just you're on a different side of the table. You're there to support and assist, but you're not solving any of the problems for the companies. But when it came time to start StreetFair, and as Mike and I were leading in, it was a huge advantage that I understood how that world worked, and had a built-in network. I mean, all of the folks that have invested in StreetFair, all of the institutional funds that have invested in StreetFair, came through warm introductions from my network, which was indirectly through the folks I met at Bain.
You guys have raised some pretty impressive capital rounds. I mean, you're 2 years old?
Yep.
2 years old, and
this is one of the rare categories we give Teddy a lot of credit.
Yeah, so now there's a ding there. Where's the soundboard?
So we could do this
when we're nice to each other.
Oh, wait, it's like a joke, right? Oh, is there an applause, maybe?
No, literally, StreetFair started as, hey, this is we had like 5 ideas before this one, and they all fizzled out. We
know the pool one.
We got so busy
Malibu
with our real jobs at the time. We couldn't let this one go.
Yeah.
And we just looked at each other, are we doing this? I said, well, I can build it. Like, I'll start building it now. Like, if I can build it, you raise the money. He looked at me, he's like, I can raise money.
Yeah.
You go build it, and I'll raise the funds. And we both.
It seems like a
60 days later,
right?
all of a sudden, there's a wire transfer. We're like, oh fuck, we got to go build a company.
I thought he was joking.
No, it was.
As Mike's taking off his Speedo.
Yeah, it was wild, and obviously very fortunate to have been in this position with both the kind of idea. Honestly, what made it really easy to raise is that Mike and I started working on the idea nights and weekends in March of 2021, and we didn't raise until October. And immediately when we had the idea, we're like, this is it, let's go. But we forced ourselves to like create some free MVPs, free meaning just our time, and not like...
Yeah, we followed the lean startup
yeah,
model. We built just enough.
And by the time we had a lot of things to point to, and yeah, it was, I had my daughter was born 2 weeks before we started StreetFair. So I had a 1 month paternity leave.
No, it's better. We were going to start it before the daughter was born. His uncle was like, just please, guys.
Absolutely not. Yeah, they're like, look,
hold off.
Yeah.
Keep your job.
It was like every mentor I had was like, okay, you can do this, but not when your wife's 8.5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Like with your first kid, like you have no idea what's coming. So just make sure there's 10 fingers, 10 toes, like get your sea legs, and then you can go like quit your, great job with benefits and paternity leave and all those things and start the company. And so I had a 1 month paternity leave, and I kind of convinced my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna take 2 weeks fully off. Will you let me start messing around with StreetFair, after 2 weeks? And she was like, yep. And I think we had a term sheet like 3 weeks, after, or like it went pretty quickly. But we had laid some groundwork, and we had made a lot of progress kind of on the side. So
Wow.
It helped.
That's pretty bold.
You got to go all in.
Yeah. Okay, so you get your first term sheet, and you're building it out, Mike. So like, how are you signing up? Are you going for neighborhoods first? Are you going for service providers first? Like chicken and the egg kind of thing, right? On a two-sided marketplace.
The hardest
Oh,
question.
the answer is yes, right?
Oh, I think like the answer was, so one of our like core values at StreetFair has been like, be students of the game. And like before we even started anything, we've read 1 billion books about marketplaces and how other people have done it and whatnot. And one of the things we realized was most important was the chicken and the egg problem and figuring out how to launch. And so like we are the beneficiary of a single neighborhood is an atomic unit, and it can be its own community. And so we actually started in my neighborhood, and we just got it working. And we're like, all right, if we can get it working in my neighborhood, we can knock down the dominoes next to it, and the rest is history. And that's the approach we took. We launched My Neighborhood up in Huntersville, up in Northstone.
So your house is pristine. All your gutters are clean. All your dryer vents are nice and shiny, right?
My house was very well taken care of last year.
Yeah.
Was this basically just a ploy to take investor money to improve your house?
And clean our dryer vents.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we cut that part out? But no, yeah, we got it work. I mean, a lot of our sales pitch was like, I would call a gutter cleaner. Hey, I need my gutters cleaned. All right, cool. Well, hey, since you're gonna be out here, I think like 4 or 5 of my neighbors need their gutters cleaned. Like, can you hit them while you're out here? Will you give us like a slight discount? They're like, yeah. All right. Well, hey, I own this company called StreetFair. Like, you want to be a part of it? And like, it was just an easy sale. It was natural.
And even before that, like how we did our early validation, you know, again, before we went full time, was whenever Mike or I needed something, we would call around and say like, you know, that exact script, get someone to, yeah, I can come out there. Okay, well, I think probably a couple of my neighbors need it. Would you give us a discount? Sure. What'd you have in mind? What about like $10 off per person who joins? You know, whatever. Okay, sounds good. And then we'd be like, we got one, and then Mike would spin up a web page with like a sign up button and like no back end, like
purely static web
no,
page.
I swear to God,
Connected to an email address?
No, it wasn't.
was
No,
like a web
it was
form
not connected.
submitting.
Mike had to check the database and see if anyone. Like I couldn't. I'd be like sitting there, like texting him every 10 minutes. Hey, did anyone sign up? Did anyone sign up yet? And he'd like, let me log into the database and see. But we would take that sign up link that just basically, you know, no thought for UI, just described what was going to happen in the date, and we'd post that on our neighborhood Facebook group, and we'd get like 10 people to sign up for this thing, and we're like, this might work. And so just that's kind of how we started with testing stuff, you know, in our own neighborhoods or you know, on Mike's neighborhood. And then we're really thoughtful to kind of building incrementally from there. And to go back to your chicken egg question, it was like even that you know, mini anecdote is similar to how you go, like, you've got to have the supplier on board first. And it's okay to onboard a business, get them all set up and say like, okay, it may be a minute before you get some requests, but like, you know what happens when you do get a request from StreetFair, and they would be totally fine going about their business knowing they were set up. So first we, you know, onboard enough businesses to, you know, that do work in the neighborhood, that people in the neighborhood have referred and everything like that, to satisfy like one atomic unit, which just needs to be a neighborhood. Then we can start bringing users to it.
It sounds like you do need that neighborhood ambassador. You know, I'm using a proxy. In college, when we go to spring break, there was always one person that was trying to sign everyone up for the cruise or the trip to Panama City Beach or something like that. And that person was motivated because if they got 20 people to sign up, their trip was free, right? So they were doing the matchmaking. Yeah. Is any thoughts around influencers or things like that, or neighborhood ambassadors that are driving those? Because like you said, you need demand to get the suppliers there. They need suppliers to drive it. Like it's back and forth.
Yeah, that's how we've built StreetFair. Is we've really focused on being kind of community driven in our growth, and we launch a neighborhood when we connect with a resident. You know, StreetFair is free for homeowners and free for neighborhoods. And so we'll connect with a resident who's like, hey, I live in this neighborhood. Like, this sounds awesome. Like, are you guys live in my neighborhood? Oh, not yet. But like, you want to help us get the word out? You want to be the neighborhood point person or ambassador? And sure, sounds good. What do I have to do? And, you know, we kind of help. We've got this little playbook that helps them get the word out. And, you know, they'll start a group deal or something like that. And then the way the kind of product's built, it's fairly social and intuitive. And we've been fortunate that the product market fit was fairly immediate on the consumer side. And so it kind of grows from there. But it's all about, you know, getting someone in the neighborhood to kind of stand up and say, hey, this feels like a no-brainer for the neighborhood, and then it spreads pretty quickly from there.
Right. By the way, any videos of the Panama City Beach trip I know have been completely erased from this world. So what's the roadmap? Like, so you've got, I mean, I've been using the app, and you can see how there's the service provider aspect to it, and how they can create their page, and they can link to their Google ratings, and they can put some photos up there and describe their service. And then I can see the calendar of the events that are coming up in my neighborhood, so I can sign up for those. What's on the roadmap? What's next? Is it you know, in-app chat? Is it putting local reviews? Like what's coming next?
Right now we're building the provider side app. So right now we have like a provider facing web application that they use to field incoming service requests and whatnot. But I think the immediate roadmap is they've been begging for an app. They love StreetFair, but at times it can be hard to use. They're like searching through their text messages, figuring out who is who, and trying to like keep track of all these leads. So we're gonna build the app, and then I think we're really excited about the in-app messaging aspect of, hey, like if you need a service request right now, it just fires off an email or a text message to the provider. But if you need something, landing it right into a two-way conversation with the provider, right on platform, with us there to help, assist and make sure that everything goes smoothly. The rest is really just around helping drive virality on both sides, getting more consumers to refer, their businesses that they trust the most, to bring more businesses onto StreetFair, and as well as getting consumers to take a more active approach in organizing group deals and getting things going in their neighborhood. But really just deepening engagement and the kind of post-booking experience to bring more and more on platform and have it as seamless as possible. And then, we're getting ready to launch city number 2. So I think we got to do some infrastructural things to make sure that we're ready, to say, hey, there's not going to be a second market, potentially states away. And so like, what didn't we think about to make sure that we can handle that aspect?
All right, so nice hint. What city number 2 is that? Denver, North Carolina? Is that what that is?
No.
We could use it.
Denver, North Carolina is part of city number 1.
Denver, North Carolina launches like next week.
Yeah.
In Bill's neighborhood,
See?
actually.
There's people. I mean, it's growing like crazy. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I think so. All right, well, Bill can be like DJ Bill. He can be a service provider. Like, do you do weddings and birthdays?
Bum
Sounds like he cleans his own
mitzvahs,
gutters.
right?
He does. We're gonna put you to work.
No, but he runs all of our AV here at the shop.
We got an audio visual category.
DJ Buffalo Bill. Maybe?
I do the same thing at home. It's all do it yourself. So I would, but I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of cleaning and fixing, and so having some other options would be fantastic. I'm tired of it, really.
So what's the next city?
I'm old.
What are you looking at? Like Raleigh or Columbia, South Carolina?
It's been a great debate. Teddy, you take this one.
Yeah, I mean, we have a short list. We haven't officially picked city number 2 yet. It's not Raleigh. Raleigh will be an obvious city number 3, but we want to make city number 2, not in North Carolina, and so we're looking at cities like Austin, Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas. And even like in Atlanta or Nashville or something like that. But looking at suburb heavy cities that have been growing quickly, but that aren't in North Carolina, because we know from what we've built, like we believe we can get this started anywhere, and so that's part of what we want to go solve for and kind of figure out. Where there's no interconnectivity to the marketplace we have going.
You know how when you're building,
Go ahead.
You know how when you're building software, you try to figure out what the most risky parts are in terms of deliverables and pull them up front in the equation to say, like, hey, we're going to eliminate all the risks. Like, we know that certain parts are a slam dunk. What we want to do is make sure, hey, let's go and try to make sure that we can demonstrate product market fit in something far away from North Carolina. I have a lot
Not
of
Mike's neighborhood.
Not Mike's neighborhood. And I got a lot of conviction that we will have a very healthy Raleigh, North Carolina marketplace.
Sure.
And so can we go and try to demonstrate that we can do this somewhere a little bit further away from the Southeast?
So from a technology standpoint, it's probably very easy to transfer over to Denver, Colorado, you said as an example. How do you get those neighborhood ambassadors? How do you get the boots on the ground knowledge of what neighborhoods to go to, right? Like, Bill's, like he mentioned his neighborhood and you probably know what it was, and you probably know my neighborhood. You don't know, well, maybe you do, but I don't think you know the neighborhoods in Denver.
I don't even
North Carolina.
I don't even know the neighborhoods in South Charlotte anymore. He's launching neighborhoods every single day. I'm like, where is that? I don't even know. I used to know everything when it was in.
But so do you, I guess what I'm saying is, do you need to hire local boots on the ground that can drive that?
Yeah. And I think this also comes down to, be a student. One of our core principles is like, we're very fortunate. We're not the first hyper-local marketplace that has to launch city by city. And so we've really studied and networked with folks that were early at companies like Uber and DoorDash and, Nextdoor, and have learned a lot about the market launch playbook and how those market by market expansion, tactics work and what they would have done differently and everything like that. And we've, obviously nothing's apples to apple, or nothing's a direct, translation, but we can learn a ton and have learned a ton about what made it work in those markets. And, what we're doing is drafting our best attempt at taking the lessons from all these amazing businesses that solved really hard problems around this and saying, I'm really glad they solved it. That thing seemed like it worked really well. Let's do that. And just adapting that for us.
But we will have boots on the ground in city
Gotcha.
number 2.
Gotcha.
We just got to decide where that is first, and
Sure.
then go hire our launch
Are you
team.
gonna throw a dart, or is there a strategy behind that?
We're looking for.
We got some dart now.
No, well, I probably started with some darts.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we're looking for suburb-heavy cities, and I think our proxy to that is try to find cities similar to Charlotte. I mean, Charlotte has grown like crazy, but looking at total population, looking at growth rate over the last 10 years, just trying to kind of figure out, what looks, feels, smells like Charlotte, because we know this one worked, but maybe not in the same region.
And looking at the climate, is there seasonality? Yes, no. And how do we think?
Literally climate, not like business climate.
Yeah, sorry.
Literally
Yeah.
We have
climate.
huge spring and fall pops in Charlotte. Things just go
right.
bonkers
Yeah,
in the
sure,
spring, which
right.
is great for us from a mass activation of our user event, right? Which is, yeah. Are we going to go right to
Pollen
Florida where
cleaning.
it's just 100 degrees all year? I don't know. Maybe that would be fine. Maybe it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
Or Syracuse, New York, or Buffalo, New York, where it's snowing all the time. Even in July.
Nobody's happy in Buffalo.
Remember, we got to have boots on the ground, so they got to want to go there.
Well, in Syracuse, you always have
Exactly.
boots on the ground.
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah.
So you mentioned Nextdoor, and that's a great way for people to connect within their neighborhood. Is that an obvious channel partner exit, strategic exit? Like that has to be on your radar, of course, right?
Yeah, and we get asked that a lot. Right now it is one of the ways we're growing within a community. We've always said, around the why now for Street Fair, we're very fortunate that, platforms like Nextdoor and like neighborhood Facebook groups are already there. Homeowners are already connected online and organized by neighborhood. And they're already talking about home service provider recommendations. So Nextdoor published a stat, 25% of all activity on Nextdoor is people asking and referring home maintenance providers. So that's our immediate sign of well, does that make sense to happen on a social network? No, they're looking for a marketplace, but that's how much weight people put on, who have my neighbors used? Let me do this call and response thing of does anyone have a plumber, asking to the void of neighbors? And
It's the worst.
yeah, I'm that's
it
not
happens all day, every day.
no one's going online and saying, does anyone have a microwave? They're going to Amazon and they're buying a microwave, and it's okay, well, that probably won't look like that forever. But right now, because neighborhoods are already organized together online, we don't have to organize them together online. And so we're able to grow more efficiently because people are already talking about this on Nextdoor and Facebook. And, going back to that story of how we got started, Mike would build a little web page and we'd post it in the neighborhood Facebook group. And we didn't have to go get all the neighbors to come to the same website at the same time. It's hey, here's the link. And so, what that looks like in the future, I'm not sure. I doubt we're on any of their radars yet, which is perfectly okay with us.
But after this podcast,
Yeah,
you
but
never
after
know.
exactly.
we know people.
Oh,
We know
almost
we know
double digit.
Tens of people. Yeah, tens.
Double digit.
But yeah, no. So we'll see. I mean, for now, it's just it's efficient and complementary as a early growth channel.
Okay, so on the supplier side, on the service provider side, they must have other apps that they're logging into as well, right? Other market channels that they're getting leads from. Mike, you mentioned in-app communications, so they're not checking their text all the time. How is Street Fair in the portfolio of apps that they have to check every day, right? Of where I'm going to get my leads. Where is that in that list? Is it overload? They have too many apps to check. Is it they can do text or they can do Street Fair? Where does that fit in their ecosystem?
That's such a loaded question. There's so many different personas, right? I mean, you got like the one-man show who's new, who's driving their entire business off Angie's List, right? And like they're paying for every single lead along the way, and like that's where they live out of. I think you have the opposite end, which is, you know, a much more established firm, has an actual marketing team, does their own direct mail,
Gotcha.
They have Google presence and driving, you know, SEO and all that stuff. So it's not such a straightforward answer.
Okay.
I'd say like, I think the real differentiator on StreetFair is a little bit about the business model and like aligned incentives. And I think a lot of those other channels are really around pay for the lead. And we don't believe that's necessarily the right model and or is resulting in like aligned incentives across those platforms. So
It's a horrible fucking model. Just to go one step further.
all right.
So StreetFair,
It makes no sense. Yeah.
So in StreetFair, they pay for the actual service, right? They pay when they get
a completed
transaction,
job.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
So we always say we make money when you make money. Like
Sure.
there's a zero risk. Just come and get on StreetFair, because if neighbors are referring you and want to use you and want to collaborate and coordinate on a service that you're going to be in the neighborhood, like great. But otherwise, like you don't have anything to lose. These other platforms are selling a lead to you. Hey, here's Mike Kerr. He needs his house pressure washed, and then selling the exact same lead to your 4 biggest competitors, and it's like sharks in the water going after a lead, which is super weird as a consumer. I mean, that's how we knew that. I wanted my lawn care cleaned and or my lawn mowed, and I submitted a request on Angie's List, and I got like blown up for 3 days aggressively by all these firms just doing whatever they could to close the business, because to be fair, they just paid a lot of money for that lead from me.
Yeah, sure.
But they also sold
wanna
the lead
convert
to
it.
5 other people. So I think that one of the biggest differentiators is around the business model.
Well, my wife mows my lawn, so I don't need that.
I don't think you should say that out loud.
Do you want to mow your lawn?
I reserve judgment.
I will say one of the, just going back to kind of the initial question, where do we fit in the stack? And Mike's answer of like, it's a loaded question is, I think one of the hardest parts on the provider side, building this product, the provider app, is the range of personas that we're solving for, or the types of users. And of course, like we've tried really hard. We're huge believers in like, you know, add constraints, focus on one user first, get that right, and then expand. But that's not really how StreetFair can't really work. If you're like, okay, we have all the companies with marketing teams, and like, so hopefully those are the neighborhood favorites, right? You know, it's like, well, no, like the neighborhood favorites, the neighborhood favorites. So we kind of, our founding pillar was like, we need, whether they take payments online, whether they have a workflow management system, whether they even have an LLC or like whatever the business is, right, depending on the service type, is if that's who neighbors are naturally recommending to each other today, that's the supply we need on the platform. And so that was like the founding decision. And so it's like, great, we have to figure out how to walk that line of building software that's usable for the one-person lawn care business whose workflow management is like they write addresses on Post-its and they put it on their truck dashboard. It's like, okay, just did this one, take the Post-it off, right? And like, we need to be able to complement that system and not force them to do something that they're not going to. And equally, we have teams that are super sophisticated, and they have, you know, digital marketing teams and customer experience teams, and like, how do we have the same piece of software be at least compatible with their workflow? And I think that's still something we, you know, it makes it really challenging to build on the provider side. But it was just about that kind of core principle of like, okay, we know that's something we have to solve for from the beginning, because it matters so much to the health of the marketplace.
Yeah, I can see that's how that's challenging, because I think on the neighborhood side and the consumer side, they're all fairly the same, right? Yeah, the personas are pretty.
And
common.
like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I mean, we don't need 100% of homes in a neighborhood
Sure.
to like prefer StreetFair.
Yeah,
for it to
Bill
be
wants to
useful.
clean his own gutters, so he can clean his own gutters.
I don't want to
Go
clean
get
my
him,
own
Bill.
gutters,
He's
believe
that
me.
guy. He's the
The only reason I do it is I'm so tired of seeing water just coming all over the place.
strong DIY guy is not your persona.
No.
When I was, I think the key differentiator of your platform is the route density, which you mentioned earlier, right? Because you had said that at Angie's List, you asked about lawn care. You know that those lawn care, those leads are going to be on Monday, I mow Mike's lawn. On Tuesday, I mow Bill's lawn, which is on the other side of the city. And on Wednesday, I mow like, that's not efficient. As a kid in high school, I created a lawn mowing business, and it was great when you mowed the first lawn and then the lawn next to it and the lawn next to it and the lawn next to it because you just didn't have to go anywhere.
Yep.
Because it's when you're working is when you're getting paid, and when you're driving, you're not getting paid. And so things like Angie's List that sell the lead don't have that. Right? You get that built in. So what they do is that someone will come clean Bill's gutters, or maybe, well, they're not going to clean
wish
Bill.
they
They're going to
would.
clean my gutters. No, because I have a gutter. So they're going to clean Teddy's gutters, but then they're going to leave a sign that, hey, we just cleaned the gutters by such and such. And then someone sees that and calls the next week and gets their gutters cleaned. It's not that they have to drive back, right?
Yep.
That's not an efficient way of doing it, right? But by preloading that and saying, I'm going to be there on Monday, who else wants their gutters clean? Maybe even like a proactive, like send it out to people. Hey, there's going to be a gutter cleaning in your neighborhood this week. Do you want to sign up? That is what's different for the supplier.
100%. And it is about that. Like it's less about would they drive somewhere. It's like, well, sure, as long as they had a day's worth of work there.
Right.
Or whatever else. And so it's stacking those customers near each other. And the other thing StreetFair is doing differently is when you're able to do that and get 3 or 4 people to all agree, hey, let's just do this together while the company's here, there is a material economic advantage to both sides. And so like that's where the group deal comes from. Like we're not forcing providers to run lower margin businesses or like forcing consumers to pay for cheaper, or like to sacrifice on quality to get a lower price. It's like, hey, it is seriously more efficient if they do 3 or 4. And so like the group of you can have a 15% discount as long as you just all choose the same date and organize a little bit. And our product makes it so there's no organization necessary. We don't need someone going around saying, okay, you're at 4 o'clock and I'll be at 4:30. And like the product handles all that. So you can be on a group deal with 7 neighbors you've never met. And I think that's part of what is really working and that we're doing differently. And where that like win-win on both sides and the economic return comes is by coordinating that ahead of time. Like they're happy to provide that discount and consumers can save money with fewer clicks and to get the same quality work.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things that are a differentiator. One, I think there's a level of proactiveness to our approach. Like every other solution to date was much more reactive in that like there's plenty of route density software solutions out there, which will like take the customers that you happen to get off of Angie and tell you the best route to take to optimize that. Mm-hmm. We're trying to be more proactive and say, hey, the customers that we are going to bring you are going to naturally be in a cluster in a single neighborhood. And so you don't have to worry about your route. Like, sure, figure out the route that makes the most sense, but like we're already bringing you the route density.
Yeah. You don't even need that software if we put all your customers for the day in the same spot.
And then the other aspect is like we're taking a digital approach. So this is not a new concept. Like the lawn guys will tell us they'll have one guy mow, one guy blow or edge, and then they'll have a third guy go hang door hangers on the 10 closest houses because they're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're doing it in a much different way. They're doing it in a manually non-digital way, right? And so we're trying to take both of those and say, hey, let's just make it very visible. What work is happening in the neighborhood? And by the nature of us making it visible of what's happening, you're naturally scheduling more customers closer together. You don't need a route density software to go figure this out.
You mentioned route density software. We have a great lawn care, like fertilizer service, Natural Lawn. Love it. It's wonderful. I got lots of earthworms in my lawn, and my lawn's the best lawn in the neighborhood.
We look forward to that
Yeah,
recommendation.
Ben, if you're listening, Natural Lawns.
Natural Lawn. No,
Go get
they're
'em.
great. Your lawn's never nuclear green. It looks like healthy green. It's wonderful. But I can't figure out, is that like our neighbor also uses Natural Lawn because we recommended them and we got the discount. But they come to our lawn on Monday and their lawn on Tuesday. You're like, what are you doing? Like, use some route density software.
I'm like, that's on
You
them.
could
I
just
mean, we
literally
can't-
just keep spreading, like just go right across the driveway onto their lawn.
You touch on a point which is probably one of our biggest challenges as a business, which is you're selling a solution to folks who may or may not be sophisticated enough or run their operation like a true business where they're focused on the P&L and they're focused on efficiency and they're out there doing their job and they mow when they want to mow or whatever. But you're like, oh, I just really wish you cared about route density and like getting that, like please mow our lawns on the same day because it'll be way more efficient for your operation.
And that's actually, that's not a commentary on the size or scale of the businesses. Some of our smallest companies, they totally get it. They think ruthlessly like this. And you know, not all of the even bigger ones do. But it is one of the things we screen for when we're onboarding, you know, service providers is obviously it's about the quality and are they going to uphold a good consumer experience, and you know, will they work within the confines of how our marketplace operates. But a big one we talk about all the time is culture fit. And like, I still don't know how we define it, but we get off, you know, these setup calls. We're like, you know, they're fairly new, whatever else. They came really highly recommended, but unbelievable culture fit. Like they think like we do. They're excited to dive in. And sometimes we'll get off and go, like, I think they're a great tree trimming business. I just don't think we should, you know, we should really lean into them on Street Fair because I just don't think they're a culture fit. Like they just don't think in terms of this, and it's probably not going to result in great customer experiences on the other side. And so, you know, it's one day we'll probably write up like the Street Fair culture fit, but it's really cool because some of the companies that are most successful are just that culture fit. Like they think like this, and it doesn't mean they have to. They're amazingly run businesses that just don't think like this, and they've made their math work. But it's a big part of Street Fair. It's like, you know, great. Like, do you want to do more work in the community? Do you want to build a reputation and invest in that ongoing reputation, which our product rewards? The more work you do in a neighborhood, the higher up you are, you know, as a recommended provider in that neighborhood. And so, you know, there are companies that really think like this and they crush.
It must be a mental switch though, right? Because you're either looking for leads and you want as many number of leads as you can. You're not thinking in concentration.
Yeah.
And so you have to, I mean, we do that a lot in Kingsman. People are normally thinking about hours that I spent on working on something versus I just want something done.
Yeah.
And so that we find a big mental leap of being able to switch people's mindset. It sounds like you got the same sort of thing.
Well, I think when you get started, all you can care about is leads, and you'll take any lead.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But after a certain point, you have enough leads, and you start to think about, I want more
Optimizing those.
efficient
Yeah.
leads.
Yeah.
And another big thing on that is like, so we always say, like, we, particularly with our size now, we probably won't be your biggest source of new customers. We want to be your most effective. And a big source of wasted time. So if we go back to like the Angie model or, you know, the Home Advisor model where you go on and even from, this is actually interesting from a design standpoint. So if you, and I didn't really appreciate this until we got so deep in Street Fair, but if you go on to, you know, any marketplace out there, they're like building for search or browse experiences, right? And like, you know, you can read different products and kind of dive in. If you go on to Thumbtack or Angie or any of these, they hit you with a wizard. Like the first time you click a button, they hit you with a wizard that's like, tell me about your job. And they're like, what size home do you have? When do you want it done? How big's your lawn? And they've done a good job if it doesn't feel that weird until you take a step back and you're like, what if you went to Amazon? It was like, what are you here to buy? And you're like, a microwave. Well, what color microwave do you want? You know, what? How long do you want the cord to be? And you're like, can I just look for some fucking microwaves, please? Like, But they do that because they're not actually, for them and their business model, because they don't have aligned incentives, it's not about helping that consumer find the best business for them, which is the purpose of most marketplaces. They want to score that lead. And they want to be like, all right, Kevin needs this is a $80 lead because it's a, you know, $700 job. They score that lead and then they're like trying to sell it to every plumber they can. And they don't want you to browse for a plumber and pick. Like they want to score that lead and then say, you know, would you like us to help you get a few quotes and kind of sell that? But one of the huge things on efficiency that we've really been able to help business on our platform is all 7 of those plumbers that just bought your lead. It's not just whether they win it or not and that they had to pay up front. You might have 5 plumbers come out to your house for free. Drive that time, assess the job, do the thing. One, it's a pain as the consumer, but it's so much wasted time. If you as a plumber are winning 1 out of 4 on those platforms because they sell them to 10 customers and you have a pretty good win rate, you know, they sell to 10 other of your competitors and you win 1 out of 4. That's like 3 unpaid consultations that don't result in a job. And so just by building our marketplace totally different, aligned incentives, we want you to browse for the business that you should choose based on their reputation in the neighborhood or their upcoming service or the group deal, and then just pick that one. It's so much more efficient for the service providers with like, you know, almost 75% of service requests on Street Fair close and turn into like a job completed.
Right.
And so there's none of that like, yeah, I do 5 consultations. I drive out to wherever. for that unpaid job. And I think a lot comes down to aligned incentives.
I like the fact that I go onto the StreetFair web app and I see not a list of providers or a list of what services do you want. It's what's in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can just pick and say, I see there's a car detailing over here, there's a driveway power wash over here, there is leaf pickup over here, and I'm like, yes, I don't need that now, maybe next month.
Yeah.
Like I don't care who picks up my leaves. I don't care who delivers my mulch. I don't care who
cleans my gutters.
Right? I mean, yes, I care to an extent that,
But
you know,
48 of
they're-
your neighbors have used them before. Perfect.
right? It's fine. If
Yeah.
as long as no one's screaming and yelling that they're a fly-by-night company. I mean, I even electricians and plumbers, they're certified, right? They have a certain licensing and they can do the job.
Yep.
Now maybe they're not as happy and whatever, but there's a certain amount of commoditization to that I just want it done and I don't want to have to pick. Now when I'm doing something else, a very big project,
You got to
that might be
remodel your
different.
kitchen. You
Yeah,
probably-
of course, right? Then I'm gonna spend more time on it. But there's a lot of things I just want it done.
Yeah, and there is a huge variety of quality out in the market, and there's some unbelievable businesses, and we want that to rise to the top, right? We don't want to commoditize, the home services space. We just want to make it unmissably obvious who everyone in the neighborhood uses,
Right.
And just okay, cool. I don't need 7 quotes. Like all my neighbors.
Teddy's famous stories there. I moved down from Manhattan. I bought a house. I looked across the street. My neighbor's lawn looks fantastic. I just wanted to close my eyes and hit the easy button of like, add me to that.
Easy
route.
to buy. Easy
do
to
what
buy.
they're
Easy
doing.
buy.
Yeah,
Easy to
like
buy.
I'm not trying to do my own thing. Like he's got to figure it out. Like
Wait, so you live across the street from me?
Yeah, what was the name of that company again?
Joan. She cuts the lawn. They fertilize the lawn. All right. So one last topic here. We're probably way over time, but AI. You guys must be thinking about AI. I know, Mike. I'm looking at you, Mike. So tell me what's in your head about AI.
I haven't stopped thinking about AI since this whole craze. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot's on my mind about AI. I think we have a unique opportunity to build this business in a more efficient way than most of our predecessors, right? I mean, we're clearly planning city number 2 and beyond. And for the lack of figuring out some automation, we continue to scale the team, right? But I think we have an opportunity to tackle whether it's an operational burden or whether it's a sales tactic, tapping into some of the capabilities that are unfolding real time to kind of control the slope of this business, and whether that means faster growth or controlling the expense line. I think it's really exciting to see what's going on around us. This is where I kind of go back and forth in my own head. I'm like, all right, like what do I go solve right now, and like what can wait 6 months or 12 months or whatever. But there's a lot that we can do with AI in this business.
Well, shameless Kingsman plug here, but we have a free service. Free.
Teddy likes free.
Yeah.
I love free.
No, but we have found that I'll get into my buckets conversation a little bit later, but most of our clients that have initial conversations are thinking about AI in one frame of mind. And then we go spend 2 hours in a boardroom, conference room
With whiteboard.
with whiteboards.
We-
and we play off each other's ideas. And some of the things that we've seen and we've been building in front of some of our capabilities, and all of a sudden people walk out with brand new fucking ideas that go from operational efficiencies, which you talked about, to how can I disrupt this market and make revenue generating opportunities. So if you're interested, you know where we live.
Sign me up. When's the next session?
No, whenever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, come on back.
I can't.
We
I
got free
probably
beer.
underestimate the percent of my day that's spent thinking about what I can do with this business with AI. So I'm excited to talk.
So here's I have one word to say: Frank. For those that don't know, Frank is our CTO, and he's just like scary smart, socially awkward, but scary smart.
I'm sure he'll
But
take exception to that.
He might, but in a lovingly way.
Yes.
But no, some of the stuff that he has not only like thought about, but start implementing
Yeah.
is crazy.
I would love to get on a whiteboard with Frank and just talk through all the things that have been racing through my mind for the last 6 months and say, hey, like what makes sense, what's tangible, how exactly would it work, and start to prioritize the roadmap. Because I mean, I think we're weeks away from starting to tap into AI to help us, not months away.
Back in January, we really started doubling down on it, and like as I caught up in March and April, like some of the crazy ideas that I had that came up, I'm now seeing in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like 4 months later.
Right.
And so all the stuff that I thought was, flying cars is now actually happening. And so you have to think about what the next 6 months is going to be, and that's going to happen in 3 months. It's crazy.
I mean, like little stuff, right? You go onto Street Fair and you see these businesses, and like they didn't just magically appear here. Like one of us had to go on and onboard each one of them and upload their logo and put in their ratings and describe their services and upload their photos. Like a few months from now, I want to be able to say, like, here's the business name and here's their website.
Right,
Just
go scrape it.
Just go do it.
Yeah, go pull the information.
I don't
No,
want my
3 months ago we did that for ourselves. Did we not? We said go figure out what Kingsman is based on here's the URL. Go figure it out. And it came back with a great summarization of what we do, which actually summarized it better than our website.
Which is why we got rid of our marketing company.
Yeah. That's what it
I
said.
thought you were going to be like, well, what they actually told us we do is nothing.
No, it was actually super good.
It was better.
So we had a marketing company, and they would do our blog posts and whatnot, and some of our website copy and whatnot, and they never quite understood what we did. And so some of the blog articles that we would put together wouldn't quite have our opinion, but also wouldn't quite understand the topic as well. Because marketing firms and technology firms were just very different. And so we started doing it through some of our AI capabilities, and within seconds it was so much better. And it was seconds, and we didn't have a rewrite cycle and whatnot. And so a couple months ago we said, yeah, thank you, but we don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
And so if you're in a marketing business like that, you need to figure out either pivot to something else or embrace AI somehow. It's amazing.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Teddy,
This was
Mike,
awesome.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
Yeah, congratulations on your success. You've grown to what, 300 suppliers?
At least that. I think it's closer to 400. Yeah.
400, great. And how many neighborhoods?
I think we're going to launch 110th this week.
110th.
110th. Okay. Yeah, which we've taken a very we were for 6 months. We were in 6 neighborhoods by design, and then it was really not until this year, 2023, that we started to say, okay, let's focus on kind of growing throughout Charlotte now.
Okay, great.
So
And
we'll be there soon if we're not in your neighborhood now.
And your second capital raise?
Yep,
So you
we
got a
raised our
good
seed
runway?
round in May. We got a couple years of runway, some awesome investors, well capitalized, and just looking to continue to lean into the traction.
Great. If someone wants to get a hold of you or figure out how to download our app, where are they going?
StreetFair.com. On there, I think it's still my cell phone number that's on the website for customer support, so you can reach me pretty directly.
1-800-TEDDY.
Yeah.
At 2 a.m.
Download the mobile app.
Odds
please.
are
Thank
I'll
you.
Download the
answer
mobile
it.
app?
Yeah, download the mobile app.
That was
Okay.
one of our over/under bets.
Mike,
Oh,
we
yeah.
absolutely
Fucking
smashed
crushed
that
it.
goal. Yeah.
I downloaded it right away.
It's like
Thank you.
literally
good app.
more than 2x the quarterly goal for app download.
We were like,
Nice.
do you think we can get 500 people to download the app in like whatever quarter it was?
1,100 or something. It was the best $5 I've ever lost.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, you'll take
all
that
day,
loss
I'm
every
like,
day,
Fuck
right?
yeah, here's
Right.
my money.
Well, Mike, say hello to Owen for us.
Hello, Owen.
We know him and love him and miss him.
I certainly will.
Yeah. Bill, thank you for
Thank you.
audio engineering.
Don't thank me until you hear it.
Oh, yes, right.
Bill, thank you for launching your neighborhood next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, next week. Okay, let's do it.
On air.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
confirmed.
Let's do it.
You should be the neighborhood ambassador and a service provider,
As long as I get.
providing DJ services to kids' birthdays.
Bill's audio visual.
Yeah, and I want some like
Buffalo Bill, DJ Buffalo Bill.
DJ
That's
Buffalo.
my-
I'll take that. I'll take it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do we?
Bill,
swag?
one more plug. Our data engineer, he's a UB guy.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
Wow.
Love it.
Wow.
Nice.
Go
Buffalo.
Buffaloes?
UB Bulls.
Bulls.
Yeah, you got the Bulls, the Bills.
Bulls, Bills,
Yeah, they're all blue.
Bisons.
Jills.
Bulls, Bills, Bisons. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, take it. That's all we got.
All right. Well, thanks for joining another episode of Kingsman's Beyond the Build podcast. where we showcase interesting innovators from the Charlotte area. And until the next podcast, go build something awesome.